After the college entrance exam, my childhood sweetheart confessed his love to me, just as I was about to accept. My 25-year-old self sent me a message. Don't say yes. He only wants to sleep with you, not take responsibility. Look at Patrick. He's your real future husband. His phone wallpaper is you. The tattoo on his chest is you. Even the hair tie on his wrist is the one you dropped. I froze, then turned my head toward the corner where the school bully, eyes red, was looking at me. He said in a sulky, aggrieved voice, "Why are you looking at me? I'm not the one confessing to you." Chapter 1. After filling out the college application forms, Simon invited me to a class reunion. I stood at the door of the private room, hand resting on the doorknob, my heart beat so fast it nearly burst out of my chest. Through the small crack in the door, I saw him standing in the center of the crowd, holding a large bouquet of roses, looking a little nervous. Our classmates were laughing and teasing. Our handsome Simon never fails to get what he wants. Misty's been following you for 3 years. Even if you told her to go away, she wouldn't. Honestly, all you'd have to do is crook your finger, and she'd come running. Why bother buying flowers? Even if it were weeds from the roadside, as long as you gave them to her, Misty would treasure them like gold. My breath caught, and my chest felt like it had been pricked by a tiny needle. They were right. I'd liked Simon for 3 years. We were neighbors, childhood friends who grew up together. But it wasn't until our first year of high school that I realized I had feelings for him. During those 3 years, I followed him everywhere, watching him play basketball, bringing him water and breakfast, taking notes for him. He was always gentle with me. He'd patiently explain difficult problems, hand me his umbrella when it rained, even carry me to the infirmary when I had cramps. I always thought he liked me too, but in everyone else's eyes, was I just someone who would come running the moment he beckoned? I bit my lip and swallowed the sourness in my throat. Don't overthink it. What others say doesn't matter. As long as Simon cares about me, that's enough. He's so good, and so many girls like him. If he's willing to confess to me, then I'm already lucky. I steadied myself, ready to push open the door when my phone buzzed in my hand. I looked down instinctively. A text from an unknown number popped up. "Don't go in. I'm the 25-year-old you." I froze. Then another message arrived. "Simon made a bet with his friends to sleep with you within 3 days. The wager is a pair of limited edition sneakers. He doesn't plan to take responsibility. If you don't believe me, ask him which university he put on his application." My entire body stiffened. He and Laura agreed to apply to University A together. University A? But Simon clearly told me he applied to University C. He said he wanted to stay with me. I stared at the screen, my mind buzzing. Laura had transferred to our school halfway through sophomore year, rich, elegant, and immediately the center of attention. She'd once brought Simon water on the basketball court too, but he turned her down. I'd secretly been happy about that for a long time. So, they'd been in touch behind my back all along? From inside the room, I heard Simon's voice, light and cheerful. "All right. Stop teasing. When Misty gets here, just play along. Don't worry. She'll definitely say yes. I know her too well." It felt like someone had stabbed my heart, pain sharp enough to drain all the color from my face. So his warm smile, his gentle gestures, his promises of a shared future, were they all just part of a bet? Or was I just a spice to liven up his dull life? The future me must have feared I wouldn't believe her, so she encouraged me to confirm it myself. "If you don't believe me, go see it with your own eyes. Some people, you have to witness for yourself whether they're worth it. I know you're the kind of person who won't turn back until you hit the wall. Because I am you." I shoved the door open. The laughter stopped abruptly. Every pair of eyes turned toward me. Simon froze for a moment, then smiled. Chapter 2. Misty, you're here. He walked toward me, holding the roses in his hands. I took a step back. "Simon, which university did you apply to?" I stared hard at his face, searching for even a hint of guilt. His smile froze. A few seconds later, Simon gave an awkward cough. "Of course, University C. Didn't we agree on that?" His eyes were evasive. "Then log into the system right now and show me your application." Simon's expression changed. Our classmates looked at each other in confusion. Someone whispered, "What's going on?" He forced a smile. Misty, what's wrong? Why are you suddenly asking that? When we filled out the applications, we did it together. You know I chose University C. I pulled out my phone, opened the college application system, and held it up to him. Then log in now. Simon's face completely fell, tinged with shame and anger. Misty, what are you doing? There are so many people here. If you really want to see, I'll show you later. My heart sank to the bottom. The phone in my palm vibrated again. When I opened it, I saw new messages. Or you can look at Patrick. He's your real future husband. His phone wallpaper is you. The tattoo on his chest is you. And even the black hair tie on his wrist, it's the one you dropped. Instinctively, I turned toward the corner. Patrick was slouched lazily on the sofa. The black t-shirt made his pale skin look even fairer, and the black hair tie around his wrist stood out sharply. My heart skipped a beat. Patrick seemed to notice my gaze. He lifted his eyes slightly, his reddened eyes meeting mine directly. A little hurt, a little vulnerable. For some reason, I panicked and quickly looked away. The atmosphere in the room froze. Simon stood there, his face dark, the roses drooping at his side. Misty, he tried to explain, about the application. I can explain. You changed your application, I said coldly, because of your promise to Laura? Simon's pupils shrank. How did you know? I didn't know. If it weren't for that message, I'd still be stupidly dreaming about going to college with him. Now, all I felt was a deep, dull ache in my chest. Around us, the classmates looked awkward, caught between curiosity and discomfort. Misty, maybe it's just a misunderstanding? Simon's always been good to you, we've all seen it. Yeah, and about Laura. Simon's never been close to her. He even told her not to come tonight because he knew you didn't like her. Not close? Really? I asked aloud. Do you dare call her right now, in front of me, and prove it? Simon let out a mocking laugh. Misty, you're not even my girlfriend yet, and you're already acting this jealous? It's not a good look. Laura and I just lost a bet. That's all. I filled in University A because I was paying up on the wager. It wasn't all about her. Another bet. He'd bet on me. Now he'd bet on his own future. From the corner, Patrick stood up. At 6'2", his height alone drew every eye in the room. He walked toward me unhurriedly, his gaze sweeping over the roses in Simon's hands with open disdain. That's it? Simon's face darkened to the color of storm clouds. Patrick, what does this have to do with you? Patrick ignored him and turned to look at me, his eyes locking on mine. Chapter 3. Misty, you have terrible taste. I froze. Why don't you reconsider me instead? The entire room fell into a deadly silence. Even the air felt frozen. Someone gasped, excitement laced in their whisper. Patrick? Isn't he the one who hates girls getting close to him? Last time someone gave him a love letter, he threw it straight into the trash. I even heard he turned down the class beauty because he doesn't like girls. Doesn't like girls? More like doesn't like anyone except Misty. My mind went blank, my gaze unconsciously landing on his wrist. Patrick seemed to sense it and instinctively covered the black hair tie with his other hand, the tips of his ears quietly turning red. Simon suddenly lunged forward and grabbed my wrist. Misty, don't listen to his nonsense. You know how I feel about you. Laura said girls love roses the most. That was clearly Lara's preference. The flowers I liked had never been roses, they were red lilies. Once, while walking home from school, we'd passed a flower shop. I had pointed at the lilies inside and teased. The meaning of red lilies is passionate love. It seemed he'd forgotten. If this was truly a confession, why did it feel so half-hearted? Let go. Patrick's voice was cold, his eyes sharp and dangerous. Simon froze under the weight of his stare, his grip loosening involuntarily. Patrick seized the moment to pull me behind him, shielding me from view. The room was in chaos. Misty doesn't like roses. Just because someone else does, doesn't mean she has to. Simon suddenly threw the bouquet to the floor, shouting angrily. Misty, are you choosing him? Have you forgotten everything we've been through in the past 3 years? Who brought you an umbrella when it rained? Who carried you to the infirmary when you were in pain? Who comforted you when you failed your exams? Each word stabbed into me like a knife. reopening old wounds. Those memories were real, but so was his betrayal. I looked into Simon's red-rimmed eyes, then took a step back to create distance. I'm not choosing anyone. With that, I turned and walked toward the door. Simon tried to chase after me, but Patrick stepped in front of him, blocking his way. When I got home, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Simon's messages flooded in one after another. Patrick could never be serious about you. His family already arranged for him to study abroad. He's just playing you because you're too naive. You're really giving up on our 3 years just like that? I stared at the screen for a few seconds, hesitated, then blocked him. Finally, the world was quiet again. My phone lit up once more. It was a message from the one who claimed to be my 25-year-old self. Why didn't you accept Patrick? I replied with a single question mark. It was too sudden, especially when my feelings for Simon hadn't yet faded. More messages came, one after another. When you cry, he'll want to give you his heart to make it stop hurting. When you hit him, he worries that your hand might hurt. He remembers every little thing you like, even tracks your period more accurately than you do. The more I read, the more irritated I felt. I typed back, if you say we'll get married in the future, then what difference does it make whether it's sooner or later? There was a long silence, so long that I thought she wouldn't reply. Finally, a new message appeared. Because you owe him too much. My heart suddenly tightened. Chapter 4. You two will get married. But a year after the wedding, he dies in a car accident while trying to save you. The phone slipped from my hand. When I bent down to pick it up, I realized my hands were shaking uncontrollably. The screen lit up again. After graduation, you accepted Simon's confession. Once he got what he wanted, he dumped you right away. You tried to end your life to make him come back. Later, it was Patrick who slowly pieced you back together. Just when you finally decided to be good to him, you got into the car accident. You fainted 3 times during the funeral. You didn't even realize you were pregnant. The baby didn't make it. When sorting through his belongings, you found a diary in his study. He'd been writing about you since high school. Wasn't Patrick supposed to go abroad? I asked. He didn't. He donated a whole building just to get into the same university as you. Ask him if you don't believe me. Donated a building? That actually sounded like something Patrick would do. I opened our chat window, typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, I sent one message. I heard you're going abroad to study? He replied instantly. What? Before I could respond, another message popped up. I'm very patriotic. Not that kind of person. I'd never go abroad. A laugh burst out through my tears. That tone, so arrogant, so childish, was exactly him. Just then, another message came in from my future self. Be good to him, or you'll regret it. I don't want you to walk the same path I did, because I'm already living in regret. She said she could barely tell reality from illusion anymore. That sometimes she woke up to find herself standing on the rooftop. If she hadn't suddenly discovered a way to contact the past, me, she would have jumped long ago. Meanwhile, Patrick kept messaging me on his own. Simon's such a jerk. He literally bet on you. And I've even seen him changing clothes before. No abs at all. Weak as hell. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Do you have abs then? No reply for a while. Was he actually counting them? Sure enough. Half a minute later. 8. Want me to count them for you? I bit my lip and replied, sure. The next second, a video call started ringing. Panicking, I quickly ran my fingers through my hair before answering. On the screen, Patrick's face was red to the point of absurdity. His eyes darted everywhere but the camera. You just said, Patrick. I interrupted softly, summoning every ounce of courage. Let's give it a try. He froze, eyes wide, staring dumbly at my face. Wait. Who do you mean by US? What are we trying? I lifted my chin playfully. What do you think we're trying? The camera jolted wildly for a few seconds, as if he almost dropped his phone. When he came back into view, his face was ridiculously close to the camera, his voice trembling with excitement. Misty, are you serious? I nodded. Heh. Patrick grinned like a big, goofy fool. For the rest of the night, he kept texting me. calling me girlfriend. Even after I'd fallen asleep, messages still came in. Girlfriend. Good night. The next morning, the doorbell rang. Chapter 5. When I opened the door, Simon was standing there, holding a bag of breakfast. Auntie and uncle are away on a business trip, right? His expression was calm, as if yesterday's fight had never happened. Misty, I brought you some coffee. Are you still mad? He tried to step inside as if everything were fine, but I blocked the doorway. I can explain the college application thing, he said quickly. The major at university really suits me better, and the two schools aren't that far apart. If you want to see me, you can take the high-speed train. Why should it be me going to see you? I looked down at the coffee in his hand and suddenly laughed. Funny thing is, I don't even drink coffee. For the past 3 years, every time I bought breakfast for him, I always got something else for myself. Simon froze. He opened his mouth to speak again, but then a familiar voice came from behind him. Girlfriend. Breakfast time. I got pork buns and milk. Patrick stood at the gate, lifting a bag in his hand. His lips curved in a smirk that was half challenge, half grin. Simon spun around, immediately stepping between us. What are you doing here? Patrick raised a brow and shook the breakfast bag, smiling with that hint of cocky mischief. Didn't you hear me? I came to bring breakfast for my girlfriend. The word girlfriend rolled off his tongue slowly and clearly, like he was afraid Simon might have bad hearing. Girlfriend? Simon's face went pale, and he turned to me, disbelief flashing in his eyes. Misty, you can take your time deciding whether to forgive me, but you don't need to use someone like him as a shield. Who said he's a shield? As I reached out to take the breakfast bag from Patrick, I let my fingers linger in his palm for an extra second. Officially became my boyfriend last night. Patrick's eyes lit up instantly, like a big puppy who'd just been rewarded. If he'd had a tail, it would have been wagging hard enough to lift him off the ground. Simon looked like he wanted to say more, but I had already turned to Patrick. Patrick, want to come in? Misty, you. Simon reached out to stop him, but Patrick sidestepped and bumped his shoulder aside. Simon stumbled, trying to follow us in. I slammed the door shut with a loud bang. From the other side came Simon's frantic knocking. Misty, open the door! Patrick's not serious about you. I leaned against the door, looking up to meet Patrick's burning gaze. He stammered softly. I am serious. If I ever lie to you, may I get hit by a car the moment I step outside? My heart clenched painfully, because in the future, he really would die in a car accident. Don't you dare say that. I snapped, stepping forward and pressing my hand over his mouth. Spit it out. Right now. No more bad luck talk. Patrick's face turned bright red, his eyes flustered and confused. He obediently mumbled against my palm. Pay. Under my hand, his lips were warm and soft. I quickly coughed and drew my hand back. Come on in. Let's eat breakfast. At the table, Patrick stuffed a steamed bun into his mouth while sneaking glances at me. Whenever I looked back, he'd panic and look away, nearly knocking over the vinegar dish. For the next week, Patrick showed up every morning without fail to bring breakfast. Simon waited downstairs for 2 days straight, but Patrick's sharp tongue drove him off. On the third day, it was Laura who showed up instead. She stood at my door, chin lifted arrogantly. Misty, Simon applied to University A for me. Can you stop using that neighbor excuse to keep pestering him? With your family background, what can you possibly offer him? College isn't like high school. It's not about grades, it's about connections and worth. I was just about to reply when Patrick suddenly let out a cold, derisive laugh. Chapter 6. Your family lost its dog. Go pick it up. Don't just squat at someone else's doorstep every day. Patrick's voice was cold, mocking. What's so great about the Lara family anyway? Lara's face flushed red, then turned pale. You what? Patrick narrowed his eyes. If you bother my girlfriend again, believe me, I'll start bothering your boyfriend. She was so furious she spun around and stormed off. I squeezed Patrick's hand. So fierce. Huh? Bother Simon? How was he going to do that? Exactly? I was curious. Patrick immediately dropped his tough guy act and leaned closer, looking pitiful. She was really scary. Okay? My heart's still pounding. I rolled my eyes. Yeah, right. The way you were cursing her out. I was afraid you'd lick your own lips and poison yourself. That night, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my future self. Patrick's definitely going to cause trouble for Laura tonight. He's the type who always gets even. Whenever you're wronged, he'll secretly take revenge for you. I blinked in surprise. No way. The reply came instantly. In college, my roommate once poured leftover food on my bed. Patrick found out and dumped an entire trash can on hers. Later, we learned it was Laura who told her to do it. That roommate was her friend, and she was jealous because Simon and I had a past. While I was still processing that, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. I answered, and instantly regretted it. Simon's voice came through. He was calling to apologize for Lara's outburst earlier. Misty, I just wanted to say sorry on Lara's behalf. She only said those things because she saw Patrick insult me and couldn't stand it. Insult him? Wasn't that exactly what he deserved? Simon, whoever you choose is your business. But can you stop bothering me? Do I have to be part of your little love drama every time? He fell silent. Then came a low, humorless laugh. Misty, you're always like this. Stubborn, defiant, never giving anyone a way out. Not like Laura. She's, let me guess, I interrupted. Gentle and considerate? Sweet and understanding? I scoffed. Perfect. Then I wish you two a lifetime of happiness. You think Patrick's any better? Simon snapped. He didn't even apply for college. He's just waiting for his parents to send him abroad. At least he didn't make a bet about sleeping with me. I said sharply, or flirt with me while keeping another girl on the side. There was a loud bang on his end, like something hit the wall. Misty, you've changed. You never used to talk like this. Yeah, I said coldly, because now I finally see things clearly. I hung up. The next day, my best friend Chin Miao came running to tell me gossip, barely hiding her glee. Laura got what she deserved. Last night, on her way back from a bar, she saw a ghost. She said it chased her for 3 whole streets, with a sack over its head. Chin Miao snorted. Serves her right. Guilty conscience catching up. Maybe. She even posted some talisman charms on her social media feed, trying to ward off evil spirits or something. What? Does she think Instagram filters out ghosts too? I looked at Patrick when he arrived 30 minutes late with breakfast. Those dark circles under his eyes. He must have been up all night. He scratched his head sheepishly. Overslept. I'll come earlier tomorrow. The day my parents came back from their business trip. Chapter 7. The Liu family had already arranged with ours to hold a joint celebration for my and Simon Liu's college admissions next Saturday. Let's do it together, more lively that way. I was telling Patrick to take the newly adopted stray cat to get vaccinated tomorrow. He didn't look up when I said that. No need. Simon and I didn't get into the same school. Oh, what does that matter? You two have always had joint celebrations from middle school and high school, haven't you? My mom was persistent about pairing me and Simon together. Usually I didn't care, but now I didn't want that. This time it's different. He got into University A. I chose University C. University A? Didn't you two agree to apply to University C together? They noticed my reluctance and exchanged a glance. Misty, did you and Simon have a fight? No. Just feel it's unnecessary? The living room fell quiet. My mom came over and sat beside me. Misty, distance can bring beauty. After university, when you graduate. Mom. I looked up. Simon and I won't work out. But back in middle school, when Simon stayed with us, weren't you two inseparable? In 3rd year of middle school, Simon's parents were posted away and he was boarded at my house. He stayed in the guest room next to mine. We ate together, studied together, played together. We were so close people joked we wore the same pants. We'd get into fights together. No one at school dared mess with us. They even nicknamed us the fearsome pair. When his parents came to take him back, he cried and clung to our door, saying he wanted to change his surname to mine. He'd even sneak back in the middle of the night. Mom, Dad, Simon has a girlfriend now and I have a boyfriend. We'll bring them to the admissions banquet so you can meet them. We should avoid appearances. In future, I plan to gradually separate the two families' affairs. Oh, since when? Has that kid always? I must have been wrong then. My mom full of gossip. Asked what my boyfriend looked like. I started a video call with Patrick right away. The moment the screen lit up, there were two silly heads, Patrick and the orange cat Mimi, both wearing matching little hats, one big, one small, like father and son caps. Misty? He clearly panicked. The camera shook and I could see him clumsily starting to take off his hat. Wait, let me change my clothes. No need. I stifled a laugh and turned the phone toward my parents. Say hello. Patrick on screen froze. The cat used a paw to swat his face and the fluffy muzzle filled the screen. Hello, Auntie. Uncle. He poked half a face out from behind the cat, cheeks flushing bright red. I'm Patrick. My mom smiled. Oh my, such a handsome young man. Hubby, come take a look. Isn't he? My mom urged. Dad snorted. Pretty average. I guess, just a bit less handsome than I was when I was young. Yes. Uncle was certainly more handsome when he was young. How could he compare to you? My mom fawned. Patrick's flattery tumbled out, and my parents nearly treated him like a son. On Saturday at the hotel, by coincidence, the Liu family's admissions banquet was in the adjoining hall. My future self sent a long silent message. Watch out for Laura. At the banquet she bribed the staff to play compromising photos of you and Simon in bed. Your parents lose face, and your reputation is destroyed. Chapter 8. I couldn't imagine it. How much hatred must a woman feel to want to destroy another completely? But this time, I wasn't going to give them the chance. Those so-called photos never existed. Just when the atmosphere was finally warm and pleasant, the banquet hall doors opened. Simon and his family entered, wine glasses in hand. Laura followed behind in a white dress, glancing around the room with thinly veiled disdain. It seemed she had successfully won over Simon's parents. Oh my, your hall is so tiny, Mrs. Liu said, her tone dripping with superiority. Our side was decorated by Laura, crystal chandeliers, a flower arch, the works, so grand. I told you we could do a joint party, but you insisted on having your own. Honestly, Misty's banquet feels rather shabby, doesn't it? My mom's smile faltered for a moment. Originally, my parents had suggested holding separate banquets, but Simon's parents had taken offense, thinking we looked down on them. So now, they'd come to pick a fight? Laura looped her arm through Mrs. Liu's, speaking sweetly but with poison under her words. Please don't mind. Auntie, Uncle, maybe Misty's family was just working on a smaller budget. They probably didn't want to trouble us. At that moment, Patrick appeared at the door, slightly out of breath. Sorry I'm late. Auntie, Uncle, he said politely, holding a small velvet box. Luckily, I made it in time. Misty, this is my graduation gift for you. I designed it myself. Open it. A gift? I blinked. So that's where he'd gone? Mrs. Liu gave him a quick once-over. My mom, clearly proud, smiled. This is Misty's boyfriend. Oh, so he went to get a gift for her. How thoughtful. Simon's face stiffened. Laura bit her lip, then said coldly, everyone at school remembers how Misty used to chase after Simon, and now she's just picking some random guy to make him jealous? Isn't that a bit childish? I actually met Patrick's mother at a charity gala once. She added with feigned innocence. She told me herself she'd never allow her son to date messy girls. Playing around is one thing, but marriage requires someone of equal standing. My father's face darkened instantly. Patrick frowned. You've met my mother? She's been traveling the world for months. When exactly did you meet her? Lara's eyes flickered. Her voice wavered. Last time. Last time what? Patrick pressed, his tone sharp. If my mom ever found out I had a girlfriend, she'd be over the moon. He paused, then turned toward Simon. And why's the Liu family even here? Simon gave a cold smirk. We booked the hall next door. Naturally, we're here. Patrick didn't even look at him. Instead, he turned to the hotel manager standing by the door. I wasn't asking him. The manager immediately stepped forward, bowing slightly. Mr. Patrick, here's the situation. Miss Laura paid double to reserve the adjoining banquet hall. She said she was a friend of your cousin. The room fell silent. I saw the smirk tug at Lara's lips, confident, smug. Without a word, Patrick took out his phone and dialed. Taylor. He said evenly. I specifically booked this entire hotel for my girlfriend's graduation banquet. I hear you gave one of the halls away as a favor to your friend? I froze in shock. No wonder the entire hotel had only our family and the Liu family booked today. When my mom made the reservation, the staff had said the schedule was full, but after hearing my name, the manager suddenly said a hall had just opened up, and even offered us a 34% discount. Chapter 9. They said the banquet was to celebrate local students who had been admitted to University C. My mom even commented how thoughtful the hotel was. If someone got into University F, would they get free meals for life? Turns out, the hotel belonged to Patrick's family. From the phone came a crisp female voice. My cousin's girlfriend is hosting her graduation banquet. How could I possibly give that hall away? She's not even a real friend. Just my mom's card-playing buddy's daughter begging for favors. I'll tell her to scram right now. A second later, Lara's phone started ringing. Her face went ghost white as she fumbled to decline the call. Patrick's tone stayed calm, his expression unreadable. Now, he said to the manager, please escort all unrelated guests out of my hotel, and don't let anyone disturb my girlfriend's celebration again. The Liu family's faces twisted with humiliation. Simon Liu stared at Lara in disbelief. You lied to me? You said this hotel belonged to your friend's family. Lara, what's going on? Tell them it's a misunderstanding. Mrs. Liu hissed, tugging at her arm. Lara wobbled under the pull, too scared to speak. The hotel manager gestured for the security guards, then turned respectfully to Patrick. Yes, Mr. Patrick. He looked back at the Lius. Please leave immediately. As Simon was being escorted out, he struggled and shouted. Misty, just because I didn't go with you to apply to University C, you're taking revenge like this? I met his eyes calmly. University C was my own choice. Where you go has nothing to do with me. Between us, there's no revenge left to speak of. His expression froze in disbelief. Misty, open the gift, Patrick said softly, eyes gleaming with anticipation, like a loyal dog waiting for praise. I lifted the lid of the velvet box. Inside was a delicate bracelet, engraved with the initials WS. Oh my! My mom exclaimed theatrically. Kids these days are so romantic, unlike some people who've been married for decades and never even brought home a flower. My dad looked aggrieved, fishing out his wallet. My paycheck card's in your purse. I can't buy gifts without money, right? How about you fund me today so I can surprise you? Patrick chuckled and pulled out another small box. Auntie, this one's for you. Surprised. My mom opened it to find a pearl necklace inside. This must be expensive. Auntie can't take it, you're still a kid. Where'd you get the money to buy both a bracelet and a necklace? Patrick rubbed his neck shyly. Misty's such a wonderful person. You raised her so well. This is just a small token of appreciation. He insisted they both try the gifts on. Later that night, I sent a photo of the bracelet to my future self. Isn't that the hotel's anniversary raffle prize? When I hosted my banquet, the manager said it happened to be the hotel's 80th anniversary and asked me to draw a prize. I pulled that exact bracelet. That fool Patrick must have used the anniversary as an excuse to give it to me. I owed him too much. Please, be good to him. My chest tightened as I held the phone. Why had this fool done so much for me, yet never said a word? Another message came through. Patrick isn't good with words. In sophomore year, I got acute gastroenteritis. Couldn't get a taxi at night. He carried me 10 kilometers to the hospital. He had a 39-degree fever himself that night. My future self and I shared memory after memory of Patrick. Later, I learned he would secretly buy out a failing dumpling shop, just because I'd once said their dumplings tasted like home. He'd even named the new campus library after me, the Misty Library. Chapter 10. After the humiliation the Liu family suffered, they couldn't even hold their heads up anymore. Whenever they saw my mom, they deliberately took a detour. Patrick, on the other hand, completely won my parents over with his performance at the banquet. He started dropping by our house whenever he had free time, practically every day. Even Mimi followed him to our place for meals, its little belly dragging on the floor. That day, I was curled up on the couch playing with Mimi when Patrick slid closer to me, fidgeting. My parents want to meet you, he muttered. Taylor has a big mouth. She told my parents about you. My mom got so excited when she heard who you were. Wait, why was she excited to hear it was me? Did Patrick's mom know me? I narrowed my eyes. Why does your mom know me? He stiffened instantly, sitting up straight like a soldier caught red-handed. Not exactly no. He stammered. I put Mimi down and grabbed his cheeks. Tell the truth. His ears turned bright red, eyes darting everywhere but at me. Well, during the senior year parent meeting, I pointed you out to her. I froze. That day, there'd been a round-faced, pretty auntie who kept staring at me and smiling like a fool. Before leaving, she even insisted I sign her notebook, saying she wanted a top student's autograph so her lazy son could get some inspiration. Wait a minute, that was his mom? Patrick scratched his head, embarrassed. I told her that after graduation, I'd reserve you in advance as my future wife. I nearly burst out laughing. And what did she say? She said I might not have the grades, but at least I have high standards. Then she called me a toad dreaming of swan meat. Patrick chuckled at the memory, but on the way home, she said, if that brilliant girl really becomes my daughter-in-law someday, I must have done a lifetime of good deeds. He added quickly, you don't have to meet them if you don't want to. My mom just doesn't believe I actually managed to date you. Thinks I'm bragging. I couldn't help but laugh, and eventually, I agreed to meet them. The week before the semester started, I stood outside Patrick's house clutching a carefully wrapped gift, palms slick with sweat. Just as Patrick reached for the doorbell, the door flew open. It was as if someone had been waiting behind it the whole time. Patrick's mom stared at me, eyes wide. Son, you actually did it. You tricked, invited her home. Behind her, Patrick's dad coughed awkwardly. Didn't we rehearse this last night? Where'd all your lines go? Oh, right. She straightened up and tried to look serious. So, Misty, what exactly do you see in him? I blinked in confusion. Mom, Patrick groaned. Didn't I tell you? As long as it's Misty. Shut up. I asked Misty. She snapped, smacking him on the back. I looked up at Patrick and smiled. To me, everything about him is attractive. Patrick's mom grabbed her husband's hand, grinning from ear to ear. After lunch, she leaned in conspiratorially. Misty, wanna go see that brat's room? Patrick reacted like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, his whole body bristling. Mom, no. Go. Slice up some fruit for Misty. Make sure the watermelon's cut into heart shapes. As soon as he stomped off to the kitchen, she pulled me upstairs, tiptoeing like a thief. The moment the bedroom door opened, I gasped and covered my mouth. The entire wall was covered with photos of me, my profile as I read in the library, my silhouette daydreaming by the track. Even a shot of me crying after eating spicy strips that were way too hot. Chapter 11. Every photo was carefully framed and arranged in neat chronological order. This boy keeps his room locked all the time, Patrick's mother said proudly. Even the housekeeper isn't allowed to go in. I walked slowly inside. On the desk was a thick sketchbook. I opened it. The first page was a drawing of me from junior year, my hair tied up in a ponytail, with the date and weather written neatly beside it. Flipping through, each page showed me smiling, frowning, or sleeping on my desk. The most recent one was from the day of the college entrance exam, me running out of the exam hall with a bright grin. At the bottom, a small line of handwriting. May Misty's every wish come true. He's never been consistent with drawing, Patrick's mom said with a sigh. But once he started drawing you, he kept at it for 3 years. Footsteps came rushing up the stairs. Mom, don't. The voice stopped abruptly. Patrick stood frozen in the doorway, wide-eyed. His mom gave him a smug, self-satisfied look as she passed by, whispering, Son, this assist deserves $1 million in pocket money, right? Remember to collect it from your dad. On the way home, I couldn't resist asking him, was drawing me hard? The tips of his ears turned pink. It's simple, but also hard. How so? Every picture is you, but none of them capture even 1/10 of you. My heart softened. I tugged on his collar, pulling him down toward me. Under the streetlight, we took our first photo together. In the picture, I was smiling with crescent eyes, while he looked like a stunned, happy fool. This one's for you, I said. Now you don't need to draw me in secret anymore. I sent it to him over WeChat. Patrick just stood there grinning at his phone, completely oblivious as I walked away. When I got home, my mom pulled me aside, whispering like she was sharing some big secret. The Liu family struck it rich. Laura showed them some kind of investment plan from her parents, helped them earn $1 million. Now Simon's mom's calling her the perfect daughter-in-law. They're so lovey-dovey it's sickening. I even saw her at the market recruiting people, saying the more you invest, the higher the returns. Misty, isn't that woman stupid? 50,000 in, 100,000 back? Since when does money just fall from the sky? My stomach dropped. Mom, that sounds like a pyramid scheme. Exactly. I tried to warn her, and she accused me of being jealous of her fortune, muttering about warning her friends. My mom stormed out of the house. After a long hesitation, I finally texted my future self. Is that investment project Simon's parents joined real? The reply came quickly. Fake. Lara's parents' company was already an empty shell. They ran off with the neighborhood mom's money. Simon followed Lara to another city. In the end, his parents were cornered by creditors, forced to sell their house to pay the debts. I stared at the screen for a long time. I remembered how Mrs. Liu used to make me sweet and sour ribs when I was little, and how Mr. Liu always brought me souvenirs when he returned from business trips. In the end, I unblocked Simon and asked him to meet me at a cafe the next day. He thought I was trying to reconcile. He came fast. So? Heard my family's doing well and suddenly remembered how much you like me? He sneered. I looked at the boy who had once been gentle and kind, now sharp-eyed and greedy after just 2 months. Whatever innocent affection I once had for him was completely gone. Mrs. Liu's investment deal sounds suspicious. I said quietly. You should warn her. Simon cut me off impatiently. Misty, you called me here just to say that? Chapter 12. You've always been jealous of Lara, and now you're slandering her, saying the investment she introduced to my parents is a scam? Misty, don't make a scene. I promise you, once I make enough from this deal, I'll come back to you. When we're in college, even if we're in different cities, I'll visit once a month, but not more than that. A few meters away, behind a potted money tree, Patrick was crouching clumsily, trying to stay out of sight. Simon, I said, my voice cold. You and Lara tricked Aunt Ma out of her retirement savings, Grandma Lee out of her medical fund, and everyone else out of their hard-earned money. I slid a folder across the table toward him. Patrick had found the evidence. Simon swatted the documents aside and shot to his feet, his face twisting in anger. Stop pretending to be so righteous. Misty, just because your family's broke doesn't mean mine can't be rich. He leaned closer, his tone sharp and arrogant. I'll give you one last chance, break up with Patrick now, and I'll pretend none of this happened. If your parents want in on this project, I can talk to mine. Maybe we'll give your family a slot. Before I could respond, Lara stormed into the cafe, heels clicking sharply against the floor. She grabbed Simon's arm possessively, glaring at me. Misty, trying to get close now that the Liu family's rich? Too late. Simon already sees through your fake, gold-digging act. I pointed to the scattered papers on the floor. Lara, why don't you tell Simon your family's company is already on the business irregularities list? Her expression froze. You're lying. Simon, don't believe her. You've been to my company, it looked perfectly fine, didn't it? This must be a setup. Misty forged it. She's just jealous of me. Simon gave me one last look, his eyes filled with disappointment and resentment. Misty, we've just grown too far apart. With that, he dragged Lara away, who was still sputtering excuses as they left. Patrick emerged from behind the money tree, rubbing the back of his neck. Don't be mad, he said softly. He's just stupid. But Simon wasn't stupid. He had scored only 3 points lower than me on the college entrance exam. He was selectively clever enough to see the benefits of Lara's family background, clever enough to weigh every gain and loss, yet too blind to see the people he hurt in the process. I'm not angry, I murmured, watching him disappear through the window. Just disappointed. I gave him a chance. My phone buzzed. It was a message from my future self. Don't hesitate. Call the police. At least you can save the people who were scammed. I quickly dialed 110. The police arrived fast. The scammed women, the aunts and mothers, came crying. demanding their money back. Mrs. Liu screamed hysterically as the officers questioned her. "Misty, you ruined my chance to get rich. You wretched girl." Mr. Liu was silent as they led him toward the patrol car, shame clouding his face. Simon tried to console them, insisting it was all a misunderstanding. "That company's too big to be a scam," he said, desperate. Only Lara stood pale and speechless, her lips trembling. Patrick stood beside me, his voice steady and warm. "Misty," he said quietly, "you did the right thing." Chapter 13. When college started. The fraud case caused a massive stir online. The hashtag top student couple scamming case dominated the trending list for an entire week. Lara's family went completely bankrupt, and both her and Simon's families ended up in prison. Patrick and my parents personally took me to university. I was surprised when Patrick said he was leaving right after dropping me off. But 3 days later, I saw him standing under the girls' dormitory with a bag of steaming breakfast in his hands. "What are you doing here?" I asked, half amused. He scratched his neck and mumbled, embarrassed. "My family donated a library to the school." Of course, he'd bought his way in. Time flew. When I turned 25, one afternoon while I was watching TV, my phone suddenly buzzed. It was a message from my future self, whom I hadn't heard from in a long time. "Don't let Patrick go out. Today is the day of his car accident." My heart stopped. I jumped to my feet and ran to the door just as Patrick was about to leave. "Can you stay home with me today?" I said, my voice trembling. He chuckled, pinching my nose. "Today's our wedding anniversary. I have a surprise for you. I'll be right back. I promise." I clutched his sleeve tightly. "I have a surprise for you too." Then I pulled a pregnancy test from my pocket, 2 bright red lines. Patrick froze, stunned. I'm going to be a dad? That evening, the news reported a major accident at the West City intersection, the exact spot where, in another timeline, Patrick would have crashed. As I stared at the twisted guardrail on the TV screen, a cold shiver ran down my spine. A new message appeared on my phone. "I'm going to disappear now. Thank you for letting me know that life can be so happy when you make the right choices." I looked toward the kitchen, where Patrick was frantically searching online for pregnancy-safe recipes. Tears blurred my vision. I knew my future self was saying goodbye. That once regretful parallel world had finally changed. Because this time, I chose differently.